I'm Beth Reitman, and I'm a baker.
And I'm Bill Moser, and I'm a baker too. But up until 3 weeks ago, I hadn't baked anything. I worked, a month ago today, I was working in a bank, sitting at a desk all day. When my fellow workers found out that I was going to leave banking and become a baker, they were, well, to say the least, fairly well shocked, which they had every cause to be.
And then there's Jennifer Burns. Jennifer works in the bakery on Mondays and Tuesdays. And the way we work in this bakery is that every person who works here does every job in the bakery. One day they deal with customers, and the next day they're in charge of putting the bread in the oven, and the next day they're in charge of making the cookie dough. And on it goes until you've handled every job in the bakery. So you really get to use many different skills, and you have an opportunity to develop them as you go along. And we divide the jobs into general areas in the bakery. One person works the front, one the middle, and one the back of the bakery. So the person in the front takes care of all the customer-related business. The middle person is in charge of a lot of the preparations for the next day, such as
setting up muffins, which entails measuring out the flour and sugar and all the ingredients that goes into a muffin.
Right. Setting up means taking all the ingredients and putting them in bowls in the proper amounts, but not mixing them. The back person's job is to take care of the baking and the preparation of the doughs for bread. It might be whole wheat bread or sourdough rye bread.
Or might be anadama.
Might be anadama, which is cornmeal and whole wheat bread. And the back person also is responsible for putting in and taking out everything that goes in the oven. The sticky buns and orange twists, the muffins, the loaf breads later in the day. And while they're coming and going from the ovens, they're also mixing that loaf bread. And that includes measuring out the other ingredients and adding them and timing the bread to see that it kneads properly and that it rises properly, and judging when that is done. We let the bread sit for just so many minutes, in one case 30 minutes or in another case 45, but a lot of it is judgment also.
Because at different times of year it will behave a little bit differently, and every bag or batch of wheat is a little bit different, so it will require a little more water or a little less water. And if it's warm or cold or humid or dry, it will also require a little more or less. So there's a bit of an art that you just sort of have to feel your way through.
Right.
So far, we've really had only one significant failure, and that was a batch of sourdough rye that came out sort of like bricks. And we don't really know what went wrong with it, but we sent it out to the pig farmer. So they're fed the pigs. I hope they all have good dental work.
But it is a fascinating place. There are lots of things going on, and it's attractive to people. So a person working here has to be able to talk to the customers. People will ask you questions. They'll want to know what the ingredients are. They'll want to know why you use certain things, why you don't do it this way or that way. And you're the representative of the bakery when you're behind the counter. And someone, if there are kids who would be interested in going into baking, I would say well, there are vocational schools that teach baking, but probably just as good would be getting a job in a bakery after school or in the summer. And I think probably the best kind of bakery to work in would be this kind of bakery, a small bakery where a newcomer would have a chance to see everything. So we can fulfill a number of roles, and it gives you a very nice feeling. And it's very satisfying to me to see the same people coming in day after day, because I know they must like what they're getting here, and it makes you feel like a part of the community. Bread is essential. People love it, and people need it. It still amazes me to think that hundreds of people are eating something that we produced. A real feeling of satisfaction, and you know that you did it.
And I'm the chef at the Cafe New Amsterdam. The menu for tonight is a pumpkin soup, braised fennel and artichokes, a duck liver terrine, mushroom turnovers, chicken breast, some fresh tuna with a tomato sauce, sea bass, scallops of pork, and a fettuccine. And right now I am getting these tomatoes ready to blanch them for the tomato sauce for fresh tuna fish. A typical day almost starts the day before, because at the end of the evening I have to check what's left in the restaurant as far as meat and produce and fish. And then I write up an ordering sheet, and the next morning I phone in the order and sometimes do shopping for something special or something that's in my neighborhood, and I pick that up, and then I come to work at about 2:30 in the afternoon. The rest of the day, everything is gotten ready to the stage where you go to the refrigerator and take it out and have the pan ready to put it in. This is for the beef tenderloin with green peppercorns. I'm portioning these out so that they're ready during service. I'm tying these up so that they don't fall apart when I put them in the pan and cook them, so that each piece will cook at the same temperature. They get cooked to order. Most of the items are cooked a la minute, which means at the last minute. The fish is sautéed at the last minute, but you have to get it ready to the stage where it can be sautéed so that it comes in clean and the scales have been removed, but the head and the tail is still on, and the fish has to be filleted and taken off the bone. So from 2:30 till 6 o'clock involves getting ready to be on the stage. That's what it feels like.
Right, and how would you like that, ma'am?
Medium rare.
And sir?
I'll have the mushroom and leek turnovers, right, appetizer, and the filet of sea bass, red wine sauce.
Thank you very much.
And then from 6 until 11, when the kitchen closes, we're cooking.
We have one soup and one turnovers, please, followed by a beef medium rare and a sea bass. Could I have 2 turnovers and then 2 beefs medium?
Okay. I got it, Mark.
Thanks. We have 2 turnovers and 1 artichoke, please.
I started cooking when I was young at home. I come from a background of butchers and bakers. At home, when you have a dinner party, you generally make one thing for everybody. Here, if you get a table of 6 people, it's conceivable that they're all eating 6 different things, and you have to know how to coordinate all of that so that everyone gets their food at the same time, and it's all hot, and it's all different.
Okay, so you could have mushroom and artichokes and artichoke and a terrine.
I have a soup and a turnover, please.
Okay. Often the job of being a chef is aggrandized. In many ways, it's very much a blue-collar job, meaning that you're on your feet 9 hours a day. It's very, very hot. You get burns and cuts. It's very physically demanding.
We have 2 artichokes, please.
Okay, you got it. You're welcome. Omar, in the reach-in on the top right-hand side, there are leaves of parsley. Can you get one? Mark, come on in.
Okay.
You have turnovers and a soup, and then the 2 pears are behind you. Can you just wipe that edge for me?
Sure.
Thanks. Okay, there you go. And then come back for your pears.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Feel there. 2 chickens. You got an artichoke?
Yeah, I'm waiting for turnovers.
It feels like a team effort to me when it goes well. The people on the floor work with the people in the kitchen and the dishwashers, and we all work together. Reach some parsley. Get the 3, Michael.
Right.
And you and one, and Michael gets them. 2. Michael gets 2 also.
I get 2 in a single.
Yeah, but he gets the 2 first. Okay, so give them their salad first.
Will you put 2 cream on it?
Yeah. And some parsley, no?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. That's for vegetables. 4. I love cooking, and I like I really do like working with my hands, and I sort of like the pressure of trying to get it done. Casey.
Which one do you want to be?
Right here. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And the sea bass.
Thank you.
Bon appetit.
For a restaurant to be successful, it has to be its own living, individual, almost person. Before we give you a final price, in the store where we're talking about, we are serving things that are very much like you serve at home. We would like to think we can do it better because we practice more than you do. And we can certainly buy in a stronger market than you can. There's a great working relationship in a restaurant because you're achieving something that's definable. I enjoy that very much. And of course, it's a little bit creative. You can see the end of each individual thing that you do. You can taste the result. You can tell if it succeeded. It's nice.
See, that's the top that's been broken down. You can take that. Chicken is good. The liver is fine. Okay.
We're the ultimate retail store. We are selling that which we have purchased. So a great deal of the humdrum of the day for day of running a restaurant is controlling that activity of the buying and then the selling.
Well, they're open so they know it's coming back. Good enough. Thank you very much.
Detail and attention to it is really the key to what we do. It's a series of very small, repeated, seemingly unimportant duties. I don't know that anybody was born to be a detail person. Nobody really says, boy, let's get up and finish everything I start today. I don't think that they made that person yet. But in our business, it's terribly important. It's a lot of things that are basically preparation. That's enormously true, of course, in the kitchen. Let's say at lunchtime we're going to feed 300 people in 2 hours. Well, you can't have 15 things, all of which we have to wait for you to order. Well, we'd have to have 35 people in the kitchen. So what you do is if you have 15 things on the menu, 11 or 12 of them are done in advance. You can't make a hamburger in advance, or it just gets cold and dry. So that has to be one of your to-order things. Make a stew in advance, and it gets better. So the kitchen, obviously, is doing almost everything in advance, so that when they react to the customer, they're only doing 3 out of 15, and they can produce. They can get it done. In working with people, with the personnel in a restaurant, it's so interdependent. Everything you're doing is only going to work because the other people are doing their jobs. And from the management standpoint, that they're coordinated correctly. Hello, ladies. Yes, we do. Sure, how many would it be? I would say that 90% of what we do for a living is before you get here or after you leave. Because once you're here, we should be reacting to you. Now, we don't take the credit card, but we will take a check if that'll help you. Fine, we'll see you at about 12:15. We have a computer service to all of our payouts as well as our personnel. And the fourth item, I didn't send. You could be very, very busy and losing money. If you were spending 55 cents for every dollar you took in, you're wasting your time. Because after you paid the light and the rent, etc., there's nothing left.
That's it?
But that magnificent old invention of a cash register really runs the business on the income department. If a bartender has 7 things to do, the easiest and least important is making drinks. Is running that income flow of the business, making sure that that which is served is paid for.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hello, sir. How are you? Good. See you. Back in.
How many years is it? Oh, 22 years now.
Whoever you are, you've got to decide what your talent is and concentrate your efforts within your talents. If you tend to be an organizer, then you have a very organized restaurant. If you would just like to spend your day among people, then you wind up working in the dining room. If your strength is being creative, you're probably going to wind up in the kitchen. I'm very good with the dining room. I think I can make the customer feel cared for. Here we go.
What is your name?
Yeah, most important to spend some time with the customer and find out what they want.
Anybody who's in a place like this...
It is actually more important how a thing is done than what you do. If you ordered the steak and the chicken arrived politely, that would not offend you nearly as much as if the steak was perfect and it was kind of dropped in your table and left with a sneer.
Finishing a renovation of the major building. We're going to do some work ourselves in a little while.
I think those of us who do it for long term enjoy the contentment of finishing what we started. of knowing that the customer walked out, experienced something that they really couldn't explain, and it worked.
We'll go through those numbers for you. Okay. We're back at the party,
Don't
folks.
forget that in a restaurant, customers don't browse. You can't put your foot in the door without having made a commitment. They've already bought something walking in the door. So they're a favor ahead of you. You owe them the favor back of trying to provide whatever that was.
I'm Pam Briganti, and I'm a meat wrapper. After the meat cutter cuts the meat and puts it on the tray and sends it down to me, I have to know what cut of meat it is so I can find the right label and set the right price. Because the prices vary from $1 something a pound to $5 something a pound, I have to recognize the cuts. For chuck, there's underblade steak, bone-in, underblade steak, boneless, top of the blade steak, bone-in. For rounds, there's bottom round, there's back rump, eye round, top round. There's not as many cuts of pork. There's rib, loin, center cut, quarter loin. I have to recognize each one of these cuts by eye. Whatever cut of meat it is, I have to find the label, set the machine at the right price, and set the tear on the machine, and then wrap it. And the machine weighs it and brings out the price, and I just stick the price on it, and it goes out. My day starts at 8 o'clock. The first thing I do is go out and check the case, and then whatever we need out in the case, the meat cutter cuts, and I wrap and fill in the holes. Francis, the meat manager, puts in an order 3 days a week, and we get a delivery 3 days a week. The meat is already cut up into sections and comes boxed. Things that the meat cutters cut that we don't need out right away, I'll wrap and load them on a dolly and put them in the meat cooler until they're ready to be used. The temperature in the meat room took a little getting used to. It's cold. My feet are usually always cold in my hands, but not enough to bother me, really. Most of the meat has to be trimmed, maybe boned. Some has to be cut on the saw. And when they use the saw, it leaves a residue on the meat, so they scrape one side of it or both sides of it if it needs it for appearance. Some people don't like the thought of raw meat. They don't like to see the blood, which there really isn't a lot of. It's funny how some people are. Now, how can you work with that? Well, you eat it after it's cooked. It's really no different. It's a slaw. What's funny about it? It never really bothered me. People sometimes ask me how I got started. I was a senior in high school, and I needed a part-time job, so I went to one of the stores in our town, and at the time they needed someone in the meat department. You just have to become an apprentice and take it from there. When I'm out at the case, I straighten the packages out so they look neat and fill in the holes. There's different places for each piece of meat, and customers sometimes will pick up a package and take it down to the other end of the case and decide they don't want it, so they'll just put it in there. I don't know why. They don't want anyone to see them sticking it back or something. And I'll go down and pick it up and take it back and put it where it belongs. Getting along with a boss is sometimes difficult. Well, I didn't think my boss was the easiest to get along with when I first started working there, but once I got to know him, now we get along fine. I probably was not easy to get along with because I didn't know much about the meat business. Now we not only get along, we have a good time doing it. There's always bad times in a job, but we get through those. Most customers I get along with fine. I always try to be pleasant, which is hard sometimes because you get aggravated, but the customer's always right. And it's nice to be able to help people who don't know the cuts of meat. Sometimes I can help them, and if I can't help them out, I'll ask the meat cutter to go out. Some of the customers, they'll ask you if it's tender, how to cook it, what temperature, and others just know. For people who are interested in this kind of profession, you start like I am, a meat wrapper. It's not something you learn overnight. It takes time to learn all the different cuts of meat, and you watch the cutter, and then one day when you're ready, you can move up to a meat cutter.
One more time. Where's the shoulder chops again?
You tell me.
Down here.
Okay.
Okay. Then loin? No, rib here. Then loin. Leg.
That's it.